Hello to everyone. Welcome and thank you for registering to this webinar organized by the ICLEI Weiss Secretariat for potential applicants to the Transformative Actions Program, the TAP. So the session will be about introducing and explaining the TAP. I am Annabelle Roblin, Junior Officer at the Weiss Secretariat. I am working on project development regarding the TAP and COP21, where ICLEI and partners are organizing a TAP pavilion. I will present this webinar today. Aureliano Piva from the Capacity Center here at the Weiss Secretariat will also support us regarding technical matters. So Aureliano, if you would like to say a few words on this matter.
Sure. Only a very brief introduction from the technical perspective. During the webinar, you will all be muted, so we won't be able to hear you. You can still ask questions by typing them in the question box that you see in the panel on the right. Those questions will be answered by Annabelle at the end of the webinar. Also, at the end of the webinar, you will be enabled to ask your question live. You will only have to click on the hand icon, and then we will unmute you, and so you will be allowed to ask questions. And that's basically it from the technical perspective.
Thank you very much, Aureliano. So let's start then. Here you can see the outline of today's webinar. So the webinar will last approximately an hour with a 20 to 25-minute presentation where I will take you through the TAP, introducing and explaining the concept of the TAP and its meaning for ICLEI's work and strategy, the content of the program, that is the 4 pillars of the TAP, and then some general information on the TAP 2015 application and selection process, that is the selection of TAP projects in the run-up to COP21 next December. So this will include information on the timeline of the process, on the selection criteria, on the application form, and also on the selection process in itself. This will be followed by a question and answer session, as Aureliano mentioned, where I will answer your questions. Also note that as a complement to this webinar, I will send you afterwards a link to a presentation given by Yunus Arikan, who is the head of global policy and advocacy here at ICLEI Weiss Secretariat. And this presentation will give you also some background information about the international climate negotiations process and COP21. So let's start first with the definition. What is the TAP? So the TAP is a 10-year program, the purpose of which is to accelerate implementation of climate actions of local and subnational governments in the crucial pre-2020 and post-2020 phases, while raising the level of ambition at all levels, that is local, but also national and of course international. So more specifically, the TAP will seek to improve access to existing capital flows to cities and regions, but also to catalyze additional capital flows, and this will be done from, from both public and private investors. So the TAP has 2 missions in this respect. One is political, and one is the climate mission of the TAP, you could say. So on the political level, the aim of TAP is to actively advocate for better and quicker access to larger amounts of climate finance for cities and regions. Why? Because we know that this is where climate change can be tackled effectively, and also because effective climate action at all levels has become urgent given the challenges linked to climate change, but also increasing urbanization. So by engaging in the TAP, by putting forward proposals of transformative action, local governments and their networks will actively pursue and intensify their efforts to bridge the gap between the negotiations and the actual implementation process. So this leads us to the climate mission of the TAP, that is for this potential to be tapped at the local level. The TAP will aim to assist the pre-brokering between subnational authorities and financing bodies where this is possible, and to mobilize cities and regions to design these transformative and bankable climate actions. So maybe let me say a few words here as to what exactly the TAP and ICLEI can do for cities through the TAP, and what, on the other hand, we cannot do or we cannot guarantee. So what we can offer to cities whose project is selected as a TAP project is visibility, of course, of the project and the city, and the opportunity to present the project at COP21 within the pavilion that ICLEI and partners are organizing. By the same token, the opportunity to engage more directly with representatives of the financial sector and the business sector who will be invited to join the pavilion. And also, more technically speaking, assistance with the application process, so more specifically the application form, that is answering any question that you may have while filling in your application. And so, to the best of our abilities, we would be very happy, of course, to help cities making strong applications. On the other hand, what TAP is not, or what we cannot do through TAP, is that, first of all, of course, we are not a financial institution, so we cannot guarantee that TAP projects will be funded. Rather, as I said, the TAP aims to pre-broker between cities and financing bodies. Here again, where possible, because we know that this is not an easy task, but that's what we aim for. And in terms of the application process, so we do not have the capacity to support applicants in gathering the data and all the necessary information. But as I said, we will be very happy to answer questions about how the form should be filled, and a help desk will be set up for this goal. And so what maybe I should stress is that ICLEI has an important advocacy role as a focal point for the LGMA constituency to the UNFCCC. And so that is why ICLEI represents cities, of course, and try and raise their voice. And so through the TAP, ICLEI will draw on this position, on this role, to advocate for better climate finance within the UNFCCC arena, but also outside of the UNFCCC arena. So this will, for example, take the form of contributing to the elaboration of new financing mechanisms for local and regional climate action, assist cities, more technically speaking, in designing these bankable and transformative projects in order to also create trust among subnational governments, financing institutions, and investors to lower the current perception of risk. So now let's maybe move on to what is the TAP. Sorry, actually, what I meant to say is that these two missions that I previously described, that is the political mission and the climate mission, will rely on two processes. So first of all, a process of mobilization of key actors at local, national and international level, as you can see on the graph. And also a process of visibilization or showcasing the climate actions already being implemented at the local and subnational levels, but also the actual potential. And so this will be done by drawing on already existing tools, that is reporting platforms. But also TAP will have its own tools, so a TAP online platform that you could say is an online registry of climate ambition. And as I said previously, a TAP pavilion that will be organized at every future COP. So what you could say is that the TAP will really guide ICLEI's work with and for cities and regions over the next 5 to 10 years. And this means that TAP will enable all ICLEI offices to better connect their cities to funding opportunities. And so, as I said previously, TAP will really contribute to ICLEI's political agenda towards and beyond COP21. So turning now to the actual content of the TAP. So as you can see, the content draws on 4 pillars. So let's start with the TAP project pipeline. This is the process by which every year up to 100 TAP projects are selected in the run-up to the annual COP and presented during the COP. And this will start, as I said, at the COP21 in Paris next December. So during this process, cities and regions are actively mobilized to apply to TAP and then supported in their application as far as possible by the TAP team. So as you can see on the graph, this is, or as you already maybe be aware, this pillar is already underway as applications for the TAP started on the 5th of May. And the first deadline for project submission will be on the 15th of June, but there will be other deadlines as I will explain later. So moving on to the TAP platform. So before the COP, all projects submitted by cities and regions will be featured on this online platform. The platform will centralize all these projects, make them more visible, so that financing institutions can have access to relevant information about them and consider financing. Moving on to the TAP Pavilion. So as I said, the TAP Pavilion is the actual physical component of the program, that is the space where the selected TAP projects will be presented to national delegations, international donors and financing agencies from both public and private sector during the COP. So lastly, the TAP advocacy for accelerated climate action. This advocacy work will build on previous achievements in local climate advocacy, and it will seek to diversify and strengthen it in various ways. So of course it will seek to raise awareness of the potential of transformative subnational climate action. It will also seek to deepen the dialogue with national governments, promoting effective vertical integration between different levels of government. Also reinforce the engagement with international and national funding bodies and development agencies. And finally, also continue the coordination of information sharing and debates on local and subnational climate finance in the realm of international climate negotiations and related fora. So from what I just said, you can really see that the TAP advocacy work will really seek to create this essential interaction nexus between all levels of government and also engage more actively with financing bodies. So moving on to the TAP 2015 application and selection process. So first of all, this is the timeline of the process leading to the TAP 2015 pavilion in December. So as I said previously, application started early May. To support the application process over the next 2 months, ICLEI offices will facilitate webinars for potential applicants to the TAP. Also, be aware that for now, applicants can only apply through the offline application form, but the online form will be released very soon, this week. Also, the form and the website will be released in several languages so that cities from all over the world can submit a project, because we know that language is a barrier that we should be that we should take into account. And so that's why on top of English, we will have French, Portuguese, Spanish, Korean, Mandarin, and Japanese translations. So as you can see, there are 3 deadlines for TAP applications: the 15th of June, 15th of July, and 15th of August. So these are deadlines for the same application. It's the same process. So yes, you can choose whether you want to submit on the first deadline or the second or the final deadline. But of course, if you submit for the first deadline, for example, you would have more time. We would more be able to give you feedback for your application, and so make a strong application. Finally, the actual selection process will start from August after the final deadline. And so applicants will be notified, successful applicants will be notified in October. That's also the time where the online platform will be activated in preparation for the COP. And finally, the 100 projects will be presented in the pavilion for COP21. Moving on to the definition of a TAP project. What do we mean by TAP project? So first of all, we refer to two types of projects, that is fast-track transformers on the one hand and post-2020 transformers on the other hand. They differ in three different aspects. So first of all, the stage they have reached the stage they have reached in general, that is either they are already fully designed with a clear budget and action plan and management structure is defined, or they only have a concept that is well designed already. In terms of the needs identified to enable the implementation of the project, so either the project only needs funding, or they, on top of funding, finance, they also require additional advice or expertise in terms of capacity building, strategy development, technical, financial advice, etc. So considering these 2 points, then we look at the implementation period. That is when the project would be ready for implementation. So either in the for the pre-2020 period or for the post-2020 period. And so please note that applicants can now apply whether they think their project is a fast-track transformer or whether they think it's a post-2020 transformers. Both applications are received from now on. So turning to the selection criteria, if we look at the overall selection and distribution of TAP projects, 5 criteria will be taken into account, ranked by importance, as you can see on the slide. So first of all, we will look at the level of transformative potential of project that I will define in the next slide. We look also at the regional balance of projects, that is, we are looking that projects are distributed fairly equally between the north and the south. We are also looking at the actual balance between mitigation and adaptation projects. Also the sectorial balance, that is projects in transports, energy, biodiversity, housing, etc. And finally, transparency, that is how informed the different projects and applications are. So if we look now at the criteria for individual projects, so the key aspect is that TAP applicants should have the potential to transform society. And so what we mean by transform or transformative action in general is these 3 criteria that you can see on your screen, that is ambitious, cross-cutting, and inclusive. So by ambitious, we look for projects that can be either first-time projects that will benefit a large proportion of the population, or the project is already existing but will be scaled up to benefit to an even larger proportion of the population. Regarding the cross-cutting criteria, so we look at how different communities will benefit from the project. We also look at how different types of resources will benefit in terms of management, that is sustainable energy, quality, land use, procurement, etc. And we also look at how the project contributes to other subnational, national, and global sustainability goals. Finally, regarding the inclusiveness of the project, so we look at how and if the project encourages cross-departmental coordination for effective implementation, how and if the citizens and local stakeholders are actively engaged, how the project fosters collaboration with other levels of government, and finally, how and if the private sector is actively engaged in the project. Now, moving on to the TAP application form. So I will tell you more about how to access the application form and to submit it on the TAP website. So as I said previously, local and some national governments which wishing to submit projects to the TAP may do so either through the TAP application, the TAP offline form, sorry, or through the online application process. And so for both, you will need to go to the TAP website that you can see, but I will actually go directly on the website to show you. Yes, so this is the home page. And now you should go to the Apply section. So here is the Apply page. So as you can see, there's a three-step, this is a three-step process. The third step, sorry, only gives you the information that I've already mentioned. So this is for a reminder. So on the step 1, you can download the application form here, the offline application form. And then on step 2, this is where you upload your application form along with any supporting documents that you are required to provide as well. So the applicant fills these fields here. And here are the 2 fields where you should upload your form and your supporting documents in a compressed file. So as I said before, the offline application, you can already find it on here. As for the online form, it will be made available this week. And both forms have, of course, the same content. So when the online form is launched on the website, applicants who choose this option will be able to directly apply online. So first they will register, and then after registration, they will be given login credentials to fill in and edit their application online. Please also note that it also applies to offline application forms. That is, when offline forms are submitted via the website in step 2, as I said, the forms will also be uploaded onto the online application system, and applicants will also receive login credentials so that they can access and edit their application later on. So now maybe we'll have a closer look at the application form. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go through all the fields today, but yes, as you can see, there is a large number of them. However, I will take you through the main sections and explain to you the main purpose of each sheet. And yes, you will maybe notice that the form may seem really lengthy, but it has been diligently designed to minimize the workload of applicants. And also, the most important would be easy is that the form must also capture the most detailed and comprehensive information so that we are able to assess the actual transformative potential of the project. So let me take you through the sheets very maybe quickly, where I will try not to be too long on this. So this is the README sheet where you can find instructions that applicants should read carefully before starting, but these are things that I described before. So maybe just to make it clear that the green sheets are mandatory. And then inside each sheet, there will be fields marked with an asterisk, also signaling that the fields should be completed in order for the form to be processed. Then some fields will be filled thanks to a drop-down menu, and other will require manual entries. Finally, there will be some fields written in italic. These are to collect complementary information. They are not mandatory, but we generally recommend applicants to fill them in, as it will enhance the value of their application. So we will see these fields later on in the other sheets. So turning to the registration sheet, so this sheet only captures basic information about the applicants, that is the name, the designated contact points, head of government, designated political liaison, and terms and conditions. Now, the TAP overview sheet is probably the most important sheet because it really seeks to capture in one sheet the transformative potential of the project. And so this sheet is key because it will basically be the basis for the first screening in terms of the selection process. So as you can see, we find the 3 criteria of transformativeness: ambitious, cross-cutting, and inclusive. And so, as I said previously, for example, regarding the ambitious aspect, so you have the definition here of what an ambitious project is. So the applicant should read the definition and then choose from the drop-down menu what kind of project they are submitting. On the other hand, there are also descriptive fields, as I said. So, for example, this is one descriptive field. And so you will find these 2 options regularly throughout the form. Now, turning to the applicant profile sheet. So this sheet tries to collect more background and contextual information about the applicant. So geopolitical information, socioeconomic information, government and community financial information, governmental ambition, sectorial information as well. So regarding this section of the sheet, we invite the applicant to fill in the sectors that are actually relevant to their project, as in you should not seek to, to fill in all the fields, of course. So now turning to the project profile. So this is the core sheet of this application form, in that it really collects detailed information about the project itself. So the concept of the project, information on the management structure, and also more detailed information on the transformative potential. So in terms of the co-benefits, for example, of the transformation. Yes, and so it will also collect information on the climate potential of the project, both in terms of mitigation and adaptation. Then information on the financial feasibility of the project, on the technical feasibility. And as I said before, you will be required as well, applicants will be required to upload supporting documents. So you can see little asterisks that mean that this is mandatory. Finally, the applicant commitments sheet. So this sheet is not mandatory. That is, if the local government council has decided on specific climate targets, both mitigation and adaptation targets, then the applicant may want to report them in this sheet in order to show how the project submitted can help reach these targets, or to show how the commitment itself can be transformative. So here again, the commitments are both in terms of mitigation and adaptation. So this is it for the application form. Now I will say a few more words on the selection process. So regarding the selection process, guidelines are still being developed, but the following entities will be involved in the process. So an expert committee and a TAP project selection panel. So how it works is that each TAP partner, that is local government organizations, financing institutions, civil society, NGOs, etc., will appoint both a representative to sit in the project selection panel and an expert to sit in the expert committee. And so the expert committee will formulate recommendations for the selection panel. So as I said, guidelines are currently being developed, but what we can say for now is that we would rather seek consensus rather than a decision being made through a strict voting system whereby a majority would win per se. So we would rather look for general agreement and consensus on what a good TAP project would be. So that is it for now. Thank you for your attention. So we will now turn to the question and answer session. So maybe Aureliano, we have a few questions already.
No, there are no asked questions. If anybody wants to ask a question, they just need to click on the hand icon and we can give them the floor, or just type them in the question box again. So there is a question, apologies for how I pronounce your name, Juvaria, and she's asking what time on June the 12th is the deadline?
What time? On the 15th of June, right?
15th. She's correcting.
Yes. Yes. We do not have a specific time, but I would say midnight on the 15th of June would be the deadline. Yes.
Another question from Michael Small. How and when will projects be presented to potential funders?
How and when? So, yes, so how? Well, this will be done through two channels. That is the TAP online platform. So as I mentioned during the presentation, the projects, once selected as TAP projects, will be all collected on this TAP online platform. And so the information will be accessible, of course, to a financing institution. And so that is where they can already identify projects that would be relevant for them, sectoral wise, in terms of their funding interests. So this will be the platform, the online platform, and this platform will actually be active through the whole duration of the TAP program, that is 10 years. So we are looking really to facilitate this, as I said, to pre-broker the between cities and financing institutions through this mean. And also, of course, at the actual COP in the pavilion, insofar as beforehand we will target specific financing institutions. That is, that they will be invited to sessions that are relevant for them. So, in terms of sectorial interest, as I said, like funding interest, so they will be invited to relevant sessions for them, and so that would be another way to facilitate dialogue and exchange between cities and potential funders.
Did that answer your question, Michael? I will unmute you.
Actually, thank you, maybe I could ask a bit further, if you can hear me.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
yes,
sure.
we can.
What kinds of funding organizations do you have in mind? I think you mentioned both international as well as private sector, and also have any funding organizations already indicated in principle a willingness to either earmark reserve funds for TAP projects, or is it you'll have to see how it works out in terms of actual funding interest?
Yes, so yes, indeed. we would seek to indeed get in touch with both public and private funders. And so in terms of identifying funders already, we are defining the strategy at the moment. What we can say is that maybe what I can stress again is that we are not, we cannot guarantee funding.
Of course.
But yes, we are defining the strategy at the moment, and so we, of course, will tell you more in due course on this.
Okay. And if I may ask one more question in the same
Yes.
vein, do you have any idea at the moment, in this initial phase, in terms of, let's say in euros, what the range would be of projects that you think would be likely to be selected for presentation? Is there a minimum or a maximum level or a typical size that you're thinking about?
No, there is no there is no minimum or maximum budget or size for the projects that would be labeled as TAP. The most important thing is that the applicants should really be able to demonstrate the transformative aspect of the project. So
Okay.
that is really the key aspects, and then the size actually doesn't matter as long as this aspect is fulfilled.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
There are a couple of further questions from Linnea Uppsal, who's asking, could projects be regarding, for example, education around climate issues and have participation in decision making? Annabelle?
Yes, yes. I mean, there is no, as I said, there is no forbidden themes or, but what we would look for is actually that the project is also cross-cutting, so a sectorial diversity as well. So this sounds like a very interesting theme, but in practice, the projects maybe should try, the applicant should demonstrate how this project in this particular field could yield some co-benefits in other fields, for instance. Does that answer the question?
I will unmute you, Linnea.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. That's good.
Okay. Thank you for your question, Linnea.
And there is a further question again from Linnea. How many projects can be approved this year? 100. Will there be new application rounds for the following 10 years?
Yes, indeed. So the maximum amount of projects that we would, in terms of, logistics, is 100, of course, is 100. But every year we would actually look for 100 new projects to be presented in the pavilion. So this doesn't mean that the projects disappear completely from the TAP. As I said, there will be this online TAP online platform, which will collect all the projects, and they will stay there for the whole duration of the TAP, that is during the 10 years in question. Yes.
Did that answer your question, Linnea?
No, I just wonder, so if we apply and we are approved this year, we will participate in the pavilion this year, but for sure not the following year. We will only
Yes.
website. Yeah. Okay.
Indeed, yes, indeed. If you are selected as a, if your project is selected as a TAP project this year, it will be featured this year in the pavilion. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question from the audience? It doesn't seem so. Annabelle, if you wanna do some concluding remarks, unless further
Yes.
questions come up.
Okay, we don't seem to have any other questions, but yes, We really want to thank you for participating in this webinar and for asking these questions. So thank you also for your attention during the presentation. And so, yes, this was a general, a rather general session about the TAP. So you may have more specific questions that you would like to ask us. So for this, you can see on the slide the contact of Marie-Sophie Beyer, who is COP21 TAP coordinator here at the World Secretariat. So you can contact her to her direct email address, or alternatively, depending on your question, either through the TAP specific address or the TAP 2015 Pavilion specific email address. So yeah, and as a complement to this webinar, as I just a reminder that we will send you as well a link to the presentation by Eunice Arikan about the international climate negotiations process and COP21. So,
Annabelle,
yes, Aureliano, sorry?
There is one more question from Michael,
right.
who is asking, do you expect project to be submitted by cities only or by other local institutions as well?
Yes, of course. I may have said cities only sometimes, but of course, all subnational governments are able to of course apply to the TAP. So cities, regions, and other subnational governments in general.
Do you have other questions, Michael?
I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Another question from Juvaria. Does that include partnership? Well, Juvaria can unmute you so you can ask the question in person. Doesn't have a mic. So, does that include partnership with no-profit community partners?
Partnership, I'm not sure I understood the question. Partnership with non-profit
community partners.
Community partners. Yes, I mean, there is no restriction on this. I'm going to repeat myself, but really what's important is the three criteria I showed you, like the ambitious, cross-cutting, and inclusive. So if these criteria, if you are able to demonstrate that the project is able to fulfill these criteria quite well, then the project could most probably qualify for being a TAP project. So, yes.
Okay, thanks. Other questions? Doesn't seem to be the case.
Right. No other question? Okay. So, once again, thank you very much for participating. And yes, as I said, if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.